Oh, hi there. It's me. And I'm joined this evening by a bunch of people that were involved in the making of All in Good Time. I'm not entirely sure why I even ran the intro there because it's just us. It's you and me. And welcome all to you backers anyway. This is a chance for you guys to, I guess, share your thoughts on how you found the movie, and a chance for us to give you a little insight into the process behind making it and everything that went on, both in pre-production from the very early stages of coming up with the concept of this, all the way up to shooting it and editing it, and then bringing it to the screen for you guys to enjoy, hopefully. So, well, let's get started, shall we? I think it's about time we bring in our guests for this, which means it's time for the long man to once more make his appearance.
Hello.
Finally, MauLer, I'm glad I get to stream with you at last.
Yeah, man, I've heard a lot about you. You make music reviews or something, right?
Oh, something like that. Yeah, I talk about books. I don't know.
I've heard of those.
Yeah, they're a thing which exists apparently. But no, it's great to have you here for this, mate. And wow, congratulations on having your idea, your book, your script come to life.
Well, yeah. I mean, thank you, and thanks for the opportunity, of course.
No, it's it was great to watch you work, and yeah, we'll get into that more as we go on. Also, here is the director of All in Good Time, Lance from the Outcast Creative. I should use your full name actually, Lance Nielsen, director extraordinaire.
Well, my full name's Lance Dean Anthony Nielsen.
I should have said the whole thing, but I get out of breath by the time I get to the end of it. You know.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're adopted and you've got two names and two sets of parents, and you put them all together. It becomes quite a long name.
It's a big old mashup. Yeah,
a long name, you say?
It is a long name. Yeah,
you say the word long, and you've got MauLer's interest.
Well, I will say, having used my pseudonym for so long, my use of my real name on both of these creative projects I've done recently has been a bit of a nightmare because everyone assumes my name is Edwards.
Yeah, we'll get that fixed for the public one. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm telling you, that is like, I'd say 98% of the people who say my name say Edwards now. I've heard across the internet. I'm just like, damn it, I'm gonna have to really pudge Edmonds, whatever this, you know. I'm not saying everyone can't read, because, you know, no, not of course. It's just your brain assumes, you know. It's like, it's gotta be Edwards, probably Edwards.
Yeah, it fills in the gaps, doesn't it? Especially when it sees an unusual name. But yeah, and also welcome everyone, our resident Canadian lunatic for the day. It's fellow director Travis Grant, better known as Travioli, for the purposes of this little stream here today.
Yeah. How's it going? If you think you guys have a name problem, my middle name is Lucevic, and if you think kids didn't pick up and call me Lucifer all through elementary, it was good times.
I literally didn't know that about you until you said it just this minute.
You gotta have a character called Lucifer.
And we've shared a room and everything, Travis.
That's right. We've spooned, and I never gave that.
You told me you love me, okay? Anyway, well, I was searching for the correct way to, like, I guess, lead into this and our little talk about All in Good Time. I guess the easiest way to do it is to go right back to the beginning, where we had the idea for doing this Kickstarter campaign this time around. It was like our follow-up to Rogue Elements. And, you know, rather than just do the same thing again, just make one movie, I thought, wouldn't it be more interesting if we can do a bunch of them? Try to, anyway, and, like, get our budget to stretch out a little bit, particularly with the lessons that we learned last time about how to, you know, have a slightly leaner and meaner production and save ourselves a whole bunch of money so we can spend it elsewhere. So we did that. And I didn't want to just do all of these scripts myself because it felt terribly self-indulgent. And I thought this is a great opportunity to, you know, extend this out a little bit and bring more people into the fold with what we're doing. And the first person I thought of was the long man himself, because I have it on good authority that you know a little bit about storytelling and movies and such like.
Point. Otherwise, I've wasted my whole life.
People, yeah, a few people have said that about you. I don't believe it. You know, but I thought I'll put it to the test. Anyway, yeah. So I came to you and I said, "Hey, like, if I set you this little goal of, like, could you write me a script? You know, 10, 15 pages or so, and make it relatively economical so it doesn't cost like $10 million to make, but a neat little self-contained story. Do you think you could do it? And if you could, we can turn it into a movie." And you were like, "Leave it with me." And then, yeah, before too long, you'd produced this concept. You produced like 3 different concepts, I think, originally. But there was one I could tell you were quite hot on, which was this.
Yeah, out of the 3, it felt like the one that was easiest to create. Like the other 2 involved a few extra things that would have been a higher variable.
I'm kind of keen to hear about the other 2 now.
Well, I did discuss one of them with you actually early on.
That feels
but
like
I don't know. Maybe we should keep them under wraps in case anything happens someday.
Yeah.
One of them I really liked actually. I thought it had a lot of potential, but I think it would have been a bit more tricky to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of glad you went with this one because it's a bunch of people in a room ultimately talking. So it's as controllable as it can be from a production point of view. And it did seem to be the one that you were most interested in exploring. So that was the beginning of it. I imagine you had to learn the whole process of writing a script because I don't think you'd ever done something like that before. So yeah, like once you got going with that, I think it all came together a lot easier than once you understood like that language of script writing. But I imagine you got a bit of a crash course in that whole process.
Yeah,
by doing this.
I've mentioned in other places, like my first draft or what I gave into any given person right at the beginning for this, it was just like not recognizable as a script for something like this. Just like you've got literally everything formatted wrong, and I was just like, okay, how do I format it right? Which goes the same, by the way, for the other story I'd written as well for the Ripperverse. Everything formatted wrong, and I had to have help, figuring it all out because it's just not in any way how I conceptualize a story, right? It's just how I see it in my head, and then I put it down on a page, and it's like, okay, but this is unreadable for the people who have to process this to the next stage, so it needs to be reformatted, put into different language, and then sort of comes in the process that Lance gave me immense help on, which is like you need certain things to be in certain places, certain words need to go, certain words need to come in, because a lot of this is like an instruction manual, as opposed to just you're not supposed to be telling a story with this necessarily, like as it stands. It needs to actually help people tell a story down the line. So a lot more dense in its first run and has been leanified, and then a lot of formatting changes came in, which I learned a bunch about.
It's definitely an interesting aspect of script writing, and just seeing your idea get turned into a finished movie, in that you have to learn to. You can get it up to a point in terms of like your idea for the story and how it's going to be portrayed on screen. Then you have to turn it over to other people, which is the difficult part, because then you have to just trust that the actors, the directors, and everyone, like the DP even, will know what you had in your head and how you want to see it on screen.
Well, all that is fascinating, because you could have a handful of elements, like it has to be this way, and then someone sees them and goes, oh, it needs to be this other way. You're like, no. But then you sometimes be like, oh, well, I didn't think about it that way, but that's actually not so bad. I
mean, it's the crazy thing about actors, that they have ideas of their own about how characters should act and how scenes should play out, and directors have their own ideas, obviously, like they've got a creative vision, and it's like it becomes that collaborative process. But yeah, like that was obviously one aspect of it. The other aspect of it was finding a director, because when we got started with this, we knew there was going to be at least 3, and as it turns out, 4 different film projects as part of this Kickstarter campaign. And Travis was already like up to his elbows in doing Trial by Fire and Complications, and so it became pretty obvious pretty quickly he does not have the time or the headspace to do a 3rd movie right now, which is kind of what we wanted to do with this. And so then the question became, well, how do we bring this to the screen? What do we do here? And as it turns out, I knew Lance, and I knew that he was a director, and he was actually really fucking experienced and knew a lot of people and had a pretty long history of filmmaking, particularly indie films. So he was used to working on a relatively small budget. And so I brought the idea to you and asked you about it. And you pretty quickly were like, yeah, that sounds like quite a good fun idea, actually.
There's a funny story behind that, which I've got to tell you. So I can't remember I told you this. That day, I'd been offered a different job, but the rates of pay were atrocious. And and it was, I didn't want to do it. I could just tell it was going to be loads of stress. I could tell that the team was going to be complex and difficult. And I actually said out loud, I'm not a particularly religious guy, but I said out loud, God, send me a sign if I'm not supposed to do this project, because I really want to say no. And literally 20 minutes later, the phone rang and it was you saying, hey, Lance, I've got this.
My God, I've become a sign from God myself.
I've got this job for you, blah, 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 doing this short film. Do you want to do it? And I went, yes, great, I can do it. Doesn't matter when it is. And as it turned out, and then I literally, that evening, I contacted the theatre company and said, look, I can't direct the show. I'll sell you the rights to the play, but I can't do it. And that turned out to be a really fortuitous thing, because originally we were going to shoot this a bit later in the year. We're going to shoot it around now. And then when Jason and Nick came on board, the only window that they were both available was May. So the whole thing got brought forward. And it meant that our shooting schedule would have been right in the middle of the run of the play that I was supposed to be directing. So I couldn't have done both projects anyway. So it all worked out. All worked out for the best, you know.
No, I think it did. Sorry,
quickly, I just wanted to quickly mention, because it's an absolutely insane coincidence. But you know how we record our EFAP Halloween arcs 1 year prior, and they get put out. So the one that's coming out right now was recorded before this project was, shot off to certainly to like anywhere near casting. And we were covering the Chucky films, and of course we get to Seed of Chucky, which stars Jason Fleming and Nick Rowe.
Oh, are they both in? Are they both in that?
They're both in that. It's fucking insane. Because when he was playing it, because I had seen it obviously for a while, the actual recording, I was like, oh my God, I know both of them very well. And I highlighted Jason because I know him from loads of films, but Nick Rowe, I was just like, holy shit, he's in it too. He's like a doctor. It's just insane coincidence.
And yeah, like on the subject of those guys, obviously one of the great things that Lance brought to the table as well is the fact that he knows basically every person in the British film industry. And he's good friends with Jason Fleming, which was superb, because you asked him about it and he was interested in coming on board and helping out with this. And Nick Rowe followed suit pretty quickly. And so we bagged ourselves two superb actors who just absolutely, I don't know how to describe it, just that it would have been easy for guys of their caliber, I think, to have just treated this as like a dick around and not really taken it too seriously and just phoned it in. But like they 100% committed to all of this. Watching them work was just absolutely superb. I mean, like I remember you just kind of left the cameras rolling at one point, more than one point actually. And they essentially went through their entire script of from start to finish, almost to the end, without pausing. Didn't miss a beat. And the ability to memorize that amount of dialogue and recite it note perfect is a superb skill. Like it's obviously not a skill that every actor has, but these guys just absolutely did it. And so they'd studied the material that closely. And I think at one point Travis actually like went in and said to me, like, this is where the money goes. Like, this is why these actors are worth every penny you get from them, because of stuff like this, this degree of professionalism.
I mean, they were both amazing. I only had to give, Jason and I have got a fluid language on set anyway, because we've worked together, I think about eight or nine times now. But it was the first time I was working with Nick, but Nick's got exactly the same sense of humor as me and Jason, so we got on brilliantly, really quickly. I only had to give them both 2 directing notes each the whole 2 days. So and I think I was talking to another director about this just yesterday. One of the mistakes that a lot of young directors make is that they think they've got to direct when they're on set. They've got to give notes, and otherwise they're not directing. And actually, half your job is really the casting process. If you cast your actors right and you get the right people, and you surround yourself with the right people on the set, and the actors know their shit and they know what they're doing, and as you say, they're off book and all the rest of it, you shouldn't really have to give them much direction. because that's why you cast them, because they're the right person for the role. And that was really the case here. And they both really went for it. And it was interesting casting Nick in that part, because I could have gone to Craig Fairbrass, another actor I've worked with before and I'm doing a project with at the minute, but who would have been a more sort of heavy hard man type. But it was quite interesting to cast Nick in that role, to give an impression that he was somehow this entitled son who'd inherited this empire that he didn't deserve, and he gave the character a whole different take. And you know, I mean, I'm a big fan of the movie Young Sherlock Holmes, so I've wanted to work with him ever since I saw that. Yeah, it was great. Great experience, the whole thing.
I think what I was so impressed by with Nick was like the way he transforms. As soon as he gets on set and he's like, it's go time for him, because he's like the most laid back, like charming guy when you're just talking to him. Like, cause we were all like staying in the same hotel, and so we were just like messing around and having dinner and stuff and having a few drinks in the evening. Like, it's the easiest going guy to talk to. But the moment he gets on set and he's in that suit, like his back suddenly straightens up and he's like super focused, and he's just there. He's right in the zone. He transforms into a completely different person. I know that's obviously the point of acting, but like, you know, to physically embody that the moment he gets on set, it's pretty cool to watch.
I loved all the little physical things he did as well, you know, when he moved and with his hands and stuff. And I really kind of gave him carte blanche. I watched everything he did very closely in the first takes, and he said, "Do you want me to do anything different?" And I said, no, exactly the same stuff every time, because I could see he'd really thought about it. And it was good as well, because you can see that, I think there's one line in particular where you can see he betrays the character's insecurity about himself completely. It's a close-up on him, and he kind of loses his nerve a little bit in the line. It's really subtle, but it's really good. So so it's a good the short is a good acting lesson for young actors, you know, because they're both fantastic, absolutely fantastic in it.
What I like about Jason as well, like he's able to break the tension between takes quite effectively. Like, he'll just, like, you know, as soon as you finish, he'll just be like, you know, cracking a joke or something just to like ease things up a little bit before he then goes into the next take, and then straight away it's like back into work mode. And they're for anyone who's seen it, obviously they get some pretty intense moments together when they're on screen, but like he can turn that on and off at will, which is, again, it's a super impressive thing to watch. But like,
because they were laughing between takes and cracking jokes all the time, you know. So it was a fun atmosphere, because very tense when we were filming.
But it's interesting, like different actors have different approaches, and like I've seen others who like they maintain that intensity throughout the whole scene. Like, so even when you've yelled cut or whatever, and like they're still keeping it going before you go into the next take, because that's how they stay in that headspace. But these guys just are able to go on and off at will, which is, again, it's an interesting approach. It's like, it's super interesting to see how they can just turn that on and off.
Yeah, and every actor is different. There are some actors who I've worked with, if they're playing a character that intense, they won't want to talk to anybody, and they'll, between takes, they'll go off and, you know, sit in a corner somewhere or put their headphones on, and they won't want someone to come and get them until, you know, they're ready to go and do the next shot. And that's fine. Different people work different ways. But if I work with Jason and now Nick, who I'm definitely going to work with again, I know exactly what I'm going to get on set. And when you're working in the low budget indie world, Travis and I talked about this when we were getting drunk on masses of cocktails in Camden one time when he was waiting for his flight to go back. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's all about minimization of risk. When you're casting in a low budget indie or even a play, you've got two actors that are exactly the same in terms of talent. What are the other things then that are the risk factors? You know, does one of them have a reputation for being difficult to work with, or reputation for being late, let's say, well, if that's the case, and the reputation of the other one is the opposite, and they're both equally talented, your minimization of risk, you're going to cast the one who's least likely to cause you any problems. Same with crew, same with locations. Everything with indie is about minimization of risk and maximum use of time. And that's, well, I mean, we applied both of those things here, and we got a really fantastic result. So,
well, yeah, I think one of the things that probably came through in the behind the scenes video is we somehow ended up finishing way ahead of schedule. Like the whole thing just went super smooth. And I've never seen that. Yeah. And half a day doesn't sound like much, but when the whole thing is basically 2.5 days in total, that's a pretty good chunk of change at the end of it. And it just made things so much easier. It gave us more time to drink at the pub, which is something I always...
I mean, I think that was in my contract, wasn't it? That we had to have a certain amount of time at the pub.
I said I would spring you for a bottle of champagne if you finished ahead of schedule. So
I'm still waiting.
All they had behind the bar was Prosecco, okay?
Yeah, they only have Prosecco, so I'm going to hold you to the champagne.
All right, yeah. That's cool. When we do the premiere, it'll be all right. I'll get something for you.
That sounds good. Yeah.
But no, it was a super fun shoot that was... for the most part, pretty stress-free, or at least it was for me, because I wasn't the director, so it was great. It's like sitting around, chilling. But no, that was the kind of vibe, I think, for this whole thing. Like, these guys knew what they were about, and they were able to get through their scenes very quickly and efficiently. Helped in no small part by yourself, like, who was great at organizing it and great at getting them where they needed to be. And as you said, perhaps because these guys were so well-versed in the material, you didn't have to give them too many directing notes, and therefore it didn't require that many retakes.
No, I mean, yeah, we were quite fortuitous, both from a technical point of view and an acting point of view, that we didn't have a scene or a line that we couldn't get right. You know, there was I think there was a couple of minor technical glitches and things. I've just put up a picture of us all on set there, if you want to show that. I'm sure we're debating something really important.
Looking very serious, yeah. The only question I think that came up was the use of the drone in order to get the overhead shots. Right. Because I think Jason's concern was like, you fly a drone in this, like, because people probably don't realize this barn that we were shooting in was like the dustiest environment I've ever been in.
God, it was
like the shit was everywhere. And like, if you try and like fly a drone and it's a little bit too low, it's going to kick up the dust and it's going to look like shit. And it did weird things to the blood that we put on the ground as well. You know, when we were splashing it everywhere to simulate the kills, it did this weird thing where the dust kind of adhered to it and it all congealed together into these weird like tree root kind of patterns, and it took a good hour or so for it to actually soak into the ground, so it looked like actual blood again. Which is weird stuff like that, which you couldn't really anticipate.
No, I mean, obviously having a drone was incredibly beneficial because, you know, otherwise we would have needed a crane, and we had access to a crane, but then setting up a crane to do a shot can take up to 2 hours sometimes, unless, you know, you've prepped it all already and whatever. But then that also takes time. So we were able to save a lot of time by using drones for I think we used drones for 4 shots in the film, the 3 overheads and the one going through the window at the beginning.
Yes.
And then a couple of shots of dissolve into that in the end as well. Yeah, great stuff. Lots of nice comments in the chat, by the way. Thanks very much for all the love.
I'm trying to bring them as many up as I can as we go.
Yeah, I mean, somebody did spot a continuity glitch. I think they're in the chat now. And, you know, I can't believe that we missed it. And it was something that was very hard to spot. But we're all over that already. So that's going to be corrected. But I'm very grateful to that person because, you know, when you've watched something so many times, it's a bit like being in the wood and not being able to see the trees because you're in the middle of the wood. You know, none of us saw it. And there was about 10 eyes on the finished project and everybody missed it.
There we go. It's Gustavo Zini.
Yeah, Gustavo, thank you very much for that. Somebody else mentioned it in the chat as well. Yeah, Gustavo, I did respond to it, and I did say thank you You know, quite happy to put my hand up when I haven't spotted something and someone else. And I looked at it and I was like, God, he's right. Yeah. Damn, how did we miss that? So that's all being addressed. So there'll be, I don't know if we're going to have to take this version of it down off YouTube and then reload it up again, and we'll lose all our comments and stuff. But
oh, it doesn't matter. Like when it goes out, because I imagine it's going to go out on MauLer's channel anyway, so it's going to get
yeah,
you know, it's going to be a whole new
final
version anyway.
final version there.
The final ultimate mega version. Yeah. I suppose like MauLer, you've been very quiet throughout all this, so I'm going to hit you with a question in terms of like your initial concept, like how you pictured this in your head when you first wrote your draft of the script versus what we have now in this finished version. How do they compare? Like how satisfied are you with this, or not, as the case may be?
Very much, very much satisfied. A lot of everything went through, like, you know, me and Lance worked quite a big back and forth on essentially every line. You know, just making sure it's like, is this too much, too little? What does it say? How well does it get what needs to be across? And how will, you know, any given part of the production deal with this line? And if there are problems with what could be anticipated, with how it could be interpreted, or where it could go, or what effect it could have, is that worth the gamble of what we believe would be the best result for the line to be there? You know, that it was taken very, very seriously, especially, you know, in the sense of like, I want to be careful with this. I want to make sure I know, you know, why every line exists the way that it does. And I saw a question about it in the chat at one point, but there were like, the relationship between, I guess, writer and director is going to be complicated and different in every part of this industry. But, you know, Lance was very much kind enough to, you know, listen to my strange and possibly out of the world suggestions for what shots could come up or what directions there could be. And then, you know, he could tell me where some of this stuff would just not work. Some of it won't have the effect I'm looking for, or that some of it could. And, you know, over the processes of redrafting, more and more got carved out. I think we'd mentioned on another stream, I was trying to draw him some pictures of what I was imagining.
Oh, yeah. The potato people. The potato
yes, my beloved potatoes.
The illustrations were superb.
I think I've kept one of those because I feel it's going to have a sort of Banksy-like value one day, and hopefully will raise me some much needed money.
I'll have to release an art book. Yeah,
well, there was a bit where you were trying to draw like the movement of cameras for the intro, and you'd like drawn out the cell like structure that they were going to be in, and I said, this is fine, but I need you to draw cock and balls on the wall, and you did.
I mean, you know, the producer gets the final say. What can you do?
True, yeah. I'm going to demand that in every movie. It's got to be a dick.
There's a secret cock and balls in every movie.
But yeah, people are talking about the MauLer cut as well. They want to see like I don't know, a 12-hour version of this.
Well, I'm not sure we have enough footage. Yeah, 12-hour version.
Just Zack Snyder, everything's just slow-mo.
Yeah, and it was part of the sort of brief, right? It was you know, I could make or draw up a billion-hour script, but I think Drinker was aiming for more of a short film, and so I had to bring it all right down. And even then, you know, stuff got cut because it was at times redundant. It's almost a matter of splattering your brain on a page, and then you come back to it, and you're like, all right, you need to shave this down, clean this up, move this there, and you know, because some people are saying like, oh, I'd love to see the original version or whatever, and it's like the version that's created is the version that I was, you know, is most, I would say, me and hopefully Lance as well. So you know, that's the one. There's not there's no Ayer cut or Snyder cut shit going on here. Like, no one needs to worry about that.
We only disagreed on, I think we only disagreed twice on
pretty much, yeah,
things. At which time I had to say, I'm directing it, so, you know, we're going to do this. But I mean, it was, I mean, they, you know, they weren't, and those things weren't major things either. They were.
No.
So, yeah, we would, I mean, you probably got pretty lucky really with me, because I am, by definition, I pride myself on being a collaborator, not a dictator when it comes to working on a production, whether it's film, theatre, whatever. And you know, this was a collaborative journey in every sense. We went through the script together, then we went through the script with the actors had their input, Jason, of course, always trying to shorten his lines. Definitely not because he doesn't want to remember everything. But Nick was very kind of like, oh, I love this. It's like Harold Pinter, and and he wanted to, pretty much keep everything as it was. So, so in the end, I said to Jason, look, we're gonna shoot it as written, and if we want to shorten it, we can shorten it in the edit suite. But in the end, I think one of the things I really like about it is the writing, a couple of people, there's been a couple of trollish comments about it, and I'm like, I just, what are you talking about? You can't say the script's rubbish. That's utter nonsense. And also, incidentally, Nick and Jason did not commit to doing the film until they'd read the script. First thing they said to me was, "Can we read the script?" Which, of course, any actor at their level would. And I sent it to them straight away, and they were, within a day they were both in. So, because they were getting paid, but not so much that they would do a rubbish film. So they were very happy with the script. I was very happy with it, and I'm really happy with how the film's turned out. It's one of my best pieces of work, I think.
I think, from a cinematography and directing point of view, I think the film looks fantastic.
When I was
gorgeous shots there,
pieces of it, I was like, "Oh shit, this looks good!" Like this is the sleek and sexy looking, sweet.
I think honestly, some of my favorite shots are just where Nick puts down the glass of water when he's been talking, and you just get that the focus shifts from Jason to the glass and then back to Jason again, and it's just such a cool effect. Like, I love that.
That's why the continuity error occurred. I remember now, because there were 2 takes of that were missing, which often happens with digital filmmaking. Something either goes missing, or it gets recorded over, or it accidentally didn't get recorded. Anyway, we definitely had another long take of that shot, and no one could find it. And it was like, okay, you don't get to hear these stories, MauLer, because we don't tell you these things to bother you. But we were frantically looking for this, and in the end they said, well, we can go back, we've got the other takes, so we can use that one. And I was like, okay, just make sure it works. This is the post-production team's 3 people on that, and it did work, but this continuity error ended up in it because of using that take instead. That's why. But anyway, we're just going to crop in and correct that. It's not going to be a problem. But yeah, things happen.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Good point here as well. Never listen to the trolls. It could be the next Godfather, and they would still make up BS to make shitty comments about. Listen,
I've just finished directing a play about the making of the Magnificent Seven, and I got called over to a table in a pub where this guy was going on and on about how he didn't like the direction of the show, my show, that I just literally come off stage being in. And when this guy went on for about 20 minutes with me standing there, and that was about all I could listen to. And at the end of the day, the most important opinion when you've done a piece of creative art is your own, because you're the person who's poured your blood, sweat and tears into it, and you have to have a certain self-belief about the thing you've done, and you usually know whether the thing you've done is good or not, because you know where you've had to compromise. And I feel like we didn't have to make that many compromises here, so I had to cut that scene that MauLer wanted with the dog skipping through the meadow. But
it was the strip club scene that I was most gutted about, honestly. Like, I thought that added a lot to the narrative.
That was written in your handwriting at the bottom of the script. That felt very suspiciously added to me.
I was fully invested in that on an emotional level.
When I saw the character named Tatiana, I knew that scene wasn't.
I did push for a full bodysuit of a Cthulhu monster, but apparently it wasn't in the budget.
Next time, MauLer, next time we'll do a horror movie, and you can do that. Dodge all of your wildest excesses. But no, I think the advantage of what we did here is, like, you understood the assignment from a budget point of view, and so you didn't write anything that was going to require like crazy special effects or big action sequences or anything like that. It was like, no, let's focus more on interesting characters and some really good like thought-provoking dialogue, and that's exactly what you delivered. So that then, I suppose, makes it much easier for the director's point of view, you know, to go to Lance and say, so man, we've got this amount of money that we can give you to do this. Is this something you can make happen? And then he's able to say yes or no. And that worked out fine in this case.
I mean, the budget for this short was the same budget as my last feature film, which shot for 2 weeks in Greece.
We gave you too much money then, god damn it.
No, well, I mean, I got most of my food for free, and I got all of my accommodation for free on that. We didn't pay for any accommodation. We got all of our ferries for free. So we got a lot of sponsorship in the way of free goods and services. But no, I mean, the amount of money you gave us for a short with these elements in was bang on the money. And it also meant I could get the best people. I mean, you were talking about the way the film looks, and we need to give a shout out to Richard Oakes, the director of photography. I've worked with Richard 3 times now, and we get on really well. And he's got he's got a really fast way of working. Some DOPs can be very slow, and again, your biggest enemy on set is time. You know, you've never got enough time. So the pace that he works and the pace that I like to go at are kind of, you know, we were conjoined, shall we say, on that. And there's an interview with him on my channel. He just came on Friday and did an interview. He's making a horror movie at the moment called Jinx, but he's a really good guy, and he's a really talented guy, and he talked about how he wanted these specific lenses for this film, you know, these old school dirty lenses that give the film that sort of more claustrophobic look, rather than everything being really clean and crisp. And that really worked with this film because of the tone and the content of it. It's quite horrific and quite violent and quite disturbing. And it
Stop
really
it, Lance. I can only like it so much.
I know. Well, but he, you know, everybody on the team brings something. You know, I had the best makeup artist, Christine Nicklin Rivet. She's been my HOD for makeup for some 25 plus years. It was great to bring her on. Alex Tabrizi and Ben Collins heading up post. These are all people I've worked with before. There was only like 2 people that were new to me. One of whom was our incredible continuity supervisor. Was it Gabrielle?
Gabby.
Yeah, she was amazing.
She was wild to talk to. Like
she was like really young, but she was so organized, and she sort of like, I would ask her a question and she'd suddenly bring this iPad out and she'd have all these sketches and comments and everything, all the detail about absolutely everything for the film. And I was like, God, this girl's amazing. I've never had a continuity person like this.
Possibly the geekiest person I've ever spoken to, and that's saying something. But yeah, she was good at what she did. She was
brilliant. There's a funny bit on the making of me saying that she's actually 257 years old, because she felt like she'd been around film forever. The way she was about it. Yeah. So. Yeah. And somebody said she's also very pretty. I didn't notice.
No one did.
Focused on making the film.
Yeah, professionals. Travis, what was your experience of this whole debacle?
That was really fun to be on set and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
So the things that I noticed while I was on there was, one, it was it felt very much like a tight family. 2, Lance had a control of the set, meaning everyone knew their spot and no one was goofing off or anything like that. There was a lot of respect there, which was cool to see. And it was really, really awesome just to sit back and watch some professionals do the thing that they're hired to do and do it at such a high level. Like, it was such a treat to watch that. I guess a question I have for you, Lance, is now that you've got it in post and it's all done, Was there anything shot wise or direction wise that you, hindsight being 2020, that you wish you would have gotten that's not in there? If you could go back in time and add something.
Well, if we had more time and more money, we would have done the overheads slightly differently, because the overheads are there for a reason. And I was asked on the comments today why the bodies are dragged off different directions, and that is actually in the script. And I do know the answer to that, but I'm not going to say it, because I think people should interpret these things themselves, and that's the way MauLer wants people to think about it. You know, there's lots of little Easter eggs in the film, all dotted all over the place, and other people have commented on why, you know, couldn't we know more about Jason's backstory and stuff. The two things I would have liked to have done is I would have done those overhead shots slightly differently, just so that the blood trails were created in a slightly different way, but that would have required a blood system to be embedded with the actors as they got dragged, that they would have pressed a button and leaked, and that would have been very complicated and expensive to set up. The other thing I would have liked to have done is I would have liked to have shot the sequence in the church when everyone gets gassed, and just cut to like 3 seconds of it when the story's being told and you see all those people dying among the pews and everything. And that's not actually in the script, but we did talk about it and did sort of say, oh, that could be quite interesting to show that. But in some ways, you know, it's probably better that we didn't. But that's something I would, just as a director, I would have loved to have shot, because it would have been an interesting sequence to film. But I was pretty happy, you know, considering the time, the constraints, and everything else. And like I said, I had best people in all the jobs. I was really happy with it. Yeah. So, and I would have ordered the curry both nights if I'd known how good it was at the hotel.
I somehow ended up with a burger every night, and it's like, I think everyone had their own orders, but like the staff just kept bringing out random shit, and like
there was
90% of it was burgers. So
there was actually slightly more food than we had people, I think, because I think we let a couple of people go early because their day was already done.
It was honestly like such a nice place to be, because like we weren't in the middle of London or anything. Like we were way out in the countryside in Kent, and just staying in this like nice little village pub and hotel, like an inn basically. And we had a nice beer garden outside, and we just like hung out there of an evening.
That came about all because I did a day trip to Broadstairs with my friend Fiona, who actually then became one of the location scouts on the film. And we just looked on Google for a pub to stop at on the way back. And of course, by this time, you'd already asked me to do the film, and I was already kind of thinking, where are we going to film this? And in my experience as a filmmaker, there's a massive benefit to taking your cast and crew away from wherever they're based and plonking them somewhere for 2 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, whatever. Because while they're there, that's all they're focused on. They're not going home every day to wife and kids and things like that. You are there. You become this like family for a very short, intense period of time. But there's massive benefits to that. And we were just at in that bar, and I noticed it was a hotel as well. And I was like, how many rooms do you have, and how much does it cost, and you know, how busy are you around this time? And I started making all this notes, and the duty manager said, well, why are you asking all this? And I said, well, I might have a booking for you. I'm just going to think about it, and we might come back and shoot something here. I'm just going to have to find a really dirty warehouse first that's near your establishment. And then we were all over that as well. And it was, you know, we had some farmer try to charge us twice as much for their barn.
Yeah. He was a bit of a dick.
That was, you know, and I mean, he was an idiot because he'd lost. We were going to pay him a not insubstantial sum of money for 2 days, and we were given one price quote originally, and then when we went to do the deal, this happens a lot, by the way, they hiked it to double, thinking we were Hollywood or something. I don't know. So we were like, no, we've just said no when we went somewhere else, and he lost all that business. So, you know, but there you go.
Yeah. But it was a nice shoot to be on. What I want to do as well is open this up for questions from chat. So if you guys have if there's something you guys want to ask us, this is an ideal time because we can carry on waffling for hours if you want. But I figured you guys might want to ask us any specific things about how this movie was put together or experiences on set, anything like that. Yeah, I do like this one. If you zoom out a bit further, the blood trails actually make a giant penis. It all comes back to it all comes back to the cock. From concept to execution, it's always there. Wait, there's one. Was MauLer inspired by the chair in a room meme for this story?
So, for those who are EFAB fans, you'll know that our whole thing on there, like our basic structure for trying to break down stories is continuity and internal consistency. And so the challenge came up early along in EFAB. It's like, so by that logic, then a film with just like a chair in a room would be good then, or could be good. And we were like, yeah, it could. It depends on how you make it, what it is, what you do. And, a step up from that then might be a room with one person in it. And then a step up from that might be a room with two people in it, which is kind of, I wanted to start, as grounded and basic as possible with a scenario that just is unlikely, but could happen. And what would happen and what would it mean? And with a bit of a twist as well, of course. I'm saying this spoiler-free as though the people here haven't seen it, but you know what I mean, just in case maybe someone hasn't seen it yet. So yes, somewhat. Chair in the room was something that was on my mind. It's like, you could even, it's very easy to use that as a promotional image for this story, considering what happens.
I do want to say as well, this movie and this script that you've written was indirectly responsible for us having to do me having to do a complete rewrite of one of our short films, because Travis pointed out rather helpfully, once I'd written the draft of the script, we've essentially got 3 short films that are all about people who have been either kidnapped or are, captured and are being interrogated and are strapped to a chair while someone yells at them or whatever. And it's like, fuck, he's right. So we had to go back to the drawing board and write
I really like that script too, goddammit.
Yeah, we'll find another use for it. I'm sure we'll repurpose it one day. But yeah, it's interesting because that's where your mind kind of goes to, isn't it? If you're given constraints over how do you shoot something on a budget? Okay, it's probably got to be in one location. Why is it in one location? Why is someone there? They've been captured. They're being interrogated. They're a prisoner or something, and that creates a power dynamic that you can then exploit. And so it's a logical chain of thought. The result is, though, you end up with a bunch of stories that are broadly similar, and we didn't want to do that with this. We kind of wanted to show different things with each one. So, yeah, thanks, MauLer. You gave me literally weeks of extra work, so I appreciate that.
That's what I do.
Yeah, MauLer, how'd you find the time to do this with everything else that you've got going on?
So I think earlier this year, I'd said on a stream I was doing 6 major projects at once, and I can't talk about any of them. But at this point now,
5 to go.
Well, one of them was the short film. One of them was the comic. One of them was the Outlaws video, which is soon to be on the way. And the other 3, I think I still can't talk about. So it's great. You know why it's so great? Is because it takes all of my time, pretty much every day, bouncing between all of these things. And I couldn't show anything for them for a very long time. So most people in my fan base assumed I was just playing video games or something. I'm just like, give me time. All in good time, okay? All in good time.
All in good time.
Hey.
Yeah.
Next one is with MauLer's real name being out there now, has he had any blowback or admiration from that? Sorry, it's nothing to do with the film.
On YouTube where you go on, I think it's profile or home or whatever it is, account or something, you can click to see what the contact email is. I've had it since I started. It's been my name. I've really not cared people know my name.
That name your whole life.
I might, yes, you could. And I've never had a problem with people knowing my name. So it's funny though, because when I suggested using it even for the Ripperverse, they were just like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, there's nothing wrong. We'll be fine." It's like, okay, well, I guess people are gonna know your name. And I was like, "Yeah, people, it's Callum's not that uncommon. I think around the world, there's a few of them.
There are.
There was one at my school. Yeah, but it wasn't.
I should hope not. MauLer's a lot older than I thought.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Like I needed reminding of that.
Oh, you're so old.
The ravages of time.
Yeah. briefly, what's the process for director and writer to work out Etchy's realistic visions? Each, I guess they're trying to say.
Well, that really depends on the writer and the director. I mean, look, traditionally in Hollywood, the writer sells the rights to the script, sells it over to the production company, and you're lucky if you get in the room with the director and have a couple of meetings to talk it over, depending on the caliber of the writer and what level they're at. If it's a big name, then it's different. But now, of course, that's all changed. We have writers' rooms, which, by the way, I don't think are good. I have to say, it's bad enough when you've got 20 different people pulling at the threads of a creative vision. I mean, I'll give a quick example. A friend of mine's just done the second season of a TV show. In fact, I was out for dinner with them just 3 days ago. This is a major TV show with a major network. I don't want to say anything more than that. And she was pulling her hair out because she was getting notes from the platform that it's going out on, notes from one of the production companies who's co-financing it, notes from the other production company who's co-financing it. Then you have the writer who is also in it and sort of playing the lead character. So you can imagine that synergy is not as simple as mine and MauLer's. And credit to Will, who essentially got the backing for the thing. He was fairly hands off in terms of letting me and MauLer, run the ship and make the decisions. And I had complete free reign on who I cast in the movie. I had complete free reign on the crew. Will had nothing to do with the hiring of the crew, which relates to a comment that somebody left about, him being a hypocrite because one of them worked on Guardians of the Galaxy or something. Some people.
And incidentally, even if he's a fucking member of the crew. He didn't write it or direct it.
Yeah, and also
strange thing to say.
yeah, there's some very, very amusing comments out there. But yeah, we were quite fortuitous in the fact that Callum and I get on really well, even though we've never met in the flesh, so to speak. And like I said, I think we only disagreed over two things, and they were fairly minor things. So we had a pretty good back and forth. I like to be really honest with people and have like frank and open discussions, but I also think it's quite important for the writer, for the director to have the writer's back, because if you're directing a script that you don't believe in, why are you directing it unless it's a fantastically amazing paycheck? So you don't want to say no, to whatever, Police Academy 7 or something. But that's not the case here. So I'm quite happy to defend it as well, because I think the script's really good.
Well, on what you said, it's like you need that careful balance of, as much as I think you and I were both open with each other's sort of additions, subtractions, or changes, you could be like, well, why not be open to everybody's? It's like, well, because it has to be completed at some point. So, you have the two of us try to work as best we could to create the final version of what we thought was the best way for the story to go.
Yeah.
Jack Attack says, I'd like to know more about MauLer's writing process. What were the inspiring ideas for the story, and what challenges did you face when writing it?
Was it that time that you tortured that guy in your garage? Was that?
Yeah.
Can't talk about that publicly, okay?
No, unfortunately. Law. So stupid. But I think I'd mentioned on the prior stream we did talking about this, that the major thing that came to mind for me was from watching Seven Psychopaths, which I highly recommend. I think it's a fucking 10 out of 10 film. It's run for comedy in that film, but there is a mob boss who's executing someone and his gun jams. And it's meant for dark comedy. She's basically like crying her eyes out. She's panicking. It's all over. And he's just like, oh, God damn it. Like, just stop. It's, am I forgetting his name? The main guy at Zombieland. Mine's completely blanking.
Michael Cera.
You're thinking of Jesse.
No, the other nerdy looking guy.
Yeah. But no, not him. The man.
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Jesus, brain useless. So he's playing the scene. He does it brilliantly. This horrifying situation for her, but the camera keeps switching back over to him and his henchmen, who are awkwardly fumbling with this annoying gun that's giving them hell. And I was just thinking, like, what if that were played very dramatic, very straight. And what would it mean if the gun needed time to be fixed, and then it just left the executioner with the to be executed in the room? What would they talk about? And then, of course, trying to add a bit more in terms of who they are, where they came from, and what this ending's going to look like. That gives a bit more pizzazz, a bit more variables.
Blank Face says, if you're given all the money you needed, what kind of movie would you have written, and how many vampires will be in the story?
At least one.
It's not really a question of vampires, is it? It's a question of eldritch beings from beyond our dimension.
We can have a vampire too. There's room.
Sure.
If money was no question, I mean, would you all not be interested in probably trying to create something pretty major scale? Again, money no question.
No, mate. I want to do like 50 grand, like little shorts, you know. For
I want to do $10 trillion.
I would make this. That's what I would do. If money was no object, we'd be making this. There you go.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, we could all, like, you know, we've got a dozen movies each that we'd happily make if we had unlimited funds, but, you know.
Do a 10-season TV show.
Yeah. On that question, actually, then how do you approach the budget? Was it evenly spread between the shorts at first, or just dictated by the requirements of each of no cast members? Yeah, I mean, I think it was like almost like a finger in the air kind of situation with this one of like what we could allocate to it. You know, once we knew the final numbers from the Kickstarter campaign, we knew what we were working with, and we knew that some of the shorts were going to take a greater amount of money. Ironically, Trial by Fire was going to get the biggest amount, and then, you know, Complications, which was the secondary Ryan Drake story, was going to get like a pretty small scale thing because it was going to be guy in a room. That gradually changed because MauLer fucked everything up for me, and I had to rewrite the script. And I think that ended up probably getting us a bigger budget than Trial by Fire ultimately. Like, Travis can probably confirm or deny. And then it's like, okay, well, you know, one of these ones needs this amount. Like, how much can we give to All in Good Time? Put that to Lance. He was able to say, yeah, we can do this on this budget. And then, you know, we've then also got the backers short film, which we absolutely are not going to like shortchange or anything. So we then had to allocate a certain amount of money to that and earmark it and say, like, that's untouchable because this needs to be made as well. And so it was a bit of juggling involved in all of this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the way I
$5,000 of my budget to a big machine gun that Travis wanted on it.
Whoa! It was the shotgun and a machine gun.
It was me mostly specifying the guns I wanted, to be fair.
Yeah, so the way I had done, like when we did before we started the Kickstarter, I had actually taken a look at the entire breakdown of Rogue Elements to see where all the money went, and I took Trial by Fire, did that script, did a budget breakdown on that, and it was actually not too far off of what we spent. And then Complications was a very small budget, and I was actually within, I want to say like $7,000 or $8,000 of what was that Lance you had come up with for All in Good Time. I was pretty close, and that was based off if we were going to be doing it in Canada.
Yeah.
And the shot in the dark, the real shot in the dark was the fan scripts, because those all varied with complexity. And the ones in the top 10 range from something that could be done for fairly inexpensive to, you know, pretty costly. So that one was the one that needed a bit of padding just for safety.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great budget for the short. Like I said earlier, I was able to get really good people, but we were able to spend good money on important things like food, because one of the most important things to get right on a shoot, especially in indie film, is the catering. You know, your people will come back and work even harder if they've had a fantastic lunch. You know, if you send someone down in a car down to Sainsbury's or Tesco's or whatever, get a few sandwiches and a few cans of Coke, and you come back with that, it just doesn't really feel like you care about them very much. You want to have something nice, and we found a really good catering company actually that was literally right 2 miles up the road from our location. I called the woman, and I said, great news. I've got a fantastic job for you. And she was brilliant. So
no, they really came through for us. I loved them because they did those little like cubes of cheese with a pickled onion on like a cocktail stick, and I was like, that takes me right back to Christmases when I was a kid. They were great.
I was waiting for those, you know, those little biscuits with the icing on the top. I forget what you call them now. You used to get them in bags. I thought she was going to turn up with some of them.
Yeah.
But, next time.
There was blank face there. Not gonna lie, with the way that the movie ended, I legit thought Jason's character was going to turn out to be some kind of robot synth thing. Yeah, that would be the poison gas that's expelled from him. Yeah, I guess doing that in a way that would look good on screen, and give you an idea of what was going on, and not give too much of a sci-fi edge to it was obviously a bit of a challenge. But I think you guys came through with that one. We actually almost set Jason Fleming on fire because one of the pyrotechnic devices was like oriented the wrong way, and it was like dispelling straight into his skin. Which was probably quite painful.
Yeah, that was an oh fuck moment from our Matt, our special effects guy. And I mean, but you know, Jason's just like he's such a trooper. Always up for getting down and dirty, and you know, he's covered in blood and all this crap.
Yeah.
By the end of it, but you know, go again, sort of thing. Yeah, I'm ready to go again. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But the way we got around that device, making that device work, was actually all in the sound design. Because in the opening credits, you can hear it being prepped.
Yeah,
it's being set.
Yeah,
that's what's going on in the opening credits, and then you hear it go off. And because I did have some major discussions with MauLer about how do we avoid this coming across as death by fart. I was sort of, you know, going to make sure the gas was not coming.
Yeah, it was. Early on, it was like a discussion on how it would happen, because pretty set and hell bent on he knew what he was there for, so to speak.
Yeah,
you know, it's just like, so what's the best way to deliver it? And yeah, you know, I think that was an excellent choice, having that sound in the opening, because it helps connect the through line.
There's a question here as well, actually, that I like, because I kind of know the answer already, but like you guys can pitch in as well. Was the gas device used to keep the budget low? I would imagine that a grenade might have been cooler. I think you very much wanted the idea of the mob boss like choking and unable to escape rather than just an instant death.
I wanted him suffering, and then of course to intertwine that it was what he did to a lot of innocent people, so it felt like appropriate. Yeah. Not that a grenade wouldn't work. It's just I feel like there's more layers to use with the gas.
Follow-up question as well. Sorry, if the gun didn't jam, would the gas have killed the mob boss if the guy was still in the chair? I'd imagine yes, because it's like going to his heartbeat or whatever.
Yeah, because it would have gone off as soon as he died.
Yeah.
The important thing about that is the sound design for the door. So in the script originally, there were lots of shots of this door. And, you know, we were going around and looking at these locations, and it was quite hard to find one that would work, that would fit all the crew in, that we could do various things with. We had that window, which was also in the script. So I said to MauLer quite early on, after we'd done 2 recce's in Kent, which is where it was filmed, I said, how about we never see the door? We only hear it being opened, and we hear this big bolt mechanism thing. And again, Ben Collins did a wonderful job with the sound design on that. So the door is almost like this character in the film that you don't see, but you know it's there because you can hear it being opened every time a body is dragged out and stuff like that. So that was something that really made it work, I think, and the setup that it wouldn't be easy for him to escape the room when the gas went off. He would have to get to the door. He would have to unlock it and all of that. You know, he couldn't just like run out the room. So that worked well.
Yeah, there's like another question on this idea. I thought the gunshot activated it, and Jason was flinching at the knife as it would not activate the gas. So I imagine if he'd been, you know, had his throat slit and he died, it would have still gone off.
Yeah, it might have taken a few seconds longer, but gunshot to the head will definitely set it off, because that
just considered a dead man switch, right? It just detecting when dead. However, which way you would like to interpret that.
I like this question here. Do you think he would be more evil if he was drinking a glass of milk?
I mentioned a comment about that earlier in the chat, which is you never have milk or dairy products on a set if you can help it, because they go off really fast. And under the lights, if you have hot lights, that's even worse. And a friend of mine was involved in a shoot where they had like loads of whipped cream. Don't ask me about the film. But, it's a true story. This was another DOP of mine, and he said like after 2 hours of like filming this sequence, the whole place stank because all of the cream curdled under the hot lights. So yeah, it was something they hadn't anticipated. But
there's also there's a reason that people never really eat food in movies. They just kind of move it around their plates because it's usually been sat there for hours.
Or it's plastic.
That too. Sorry if this has been mentioned. I love the tension throughout the whole thing, but any plans, if enough interest, to show the events leading up to this? I'm very intrigued by what led up to it.
One of the first things I said to MauLer was it would be really easy to expand this out into a feature film. This could either be the ending of it or it could be the beginning of it. Actually, one of the things that Travis asked me earlier was there anything else about the thing I wanted to shoot? I did say we wanted to show a shot of Grant Hager, who plays the heavy. If there was time, I was going to do a shot of him coming in and finding his body and picking up the gun, like the gun, and then sort of ending on it. It would be like a post-credit scene, and we didn't have time. We could have stayed the extra half day to do that shot, but it wasn't in the schedule anyway. It's just something I thought of at the time, but it definitely could go that way. I mean, we talked about it, didn't we, MauLer? That there's
there's potential. It's just about interest and opportunity, I suppose. Who knows? Who can say?
Yeah, who knows what happens if we do another Kickstarter? I like that one. The line about letting you go feels like saving myself. It hits different the second time around.
Yeah, Nick delivers that so well as well. It's like there's an insincerity to it, but you could almost believe him. It's great.
You can imagine how awkward it would be for Jason's character if like he did just let him go.
Like, dude, that would have been fucked up for him. He's like, damn it.
He just has to like run headfirst into a wall to try and kill himself or whatever. I like this one. My dad was in advertising and they had to use mashed potato instead of ice cream under the lights.
That's right. That was very common.
And Aaron Charman says, maybe I missed this, but did MauLer come up with the shot of the glass getting emptier, or was that a cinematography decision later?
No, that was in the script.
Yeah, I was a bit hell-bent on that one. I think I went over it with Lance a couple of times because I was just like, there's a particular way I want it to be, because I don't think it's particularly like involved as to exactly what it's supposed to mean or what it's referencing, but I think it came through entirely on that. I love the way it looks.
No, agreed. I think what I'll probably do then is finish up our stream there. It's been lovely talking with you guys, like reminiscing about this shoot. Like I say before, it was a lot of fun to be part of this, even though I was just really an observer for this one. But it was nice to hang with yourself, Lance, with Travis, with Jason, with Nick, with all the crew. Everyone was just like super positive, and just the atmosphere around this was like so laid back, but also so efficient. And it was a really nice experience to watch it all come together. And MauLer, I am super proud of you as well to see you take your first steps into script writing and film production. And I'm sure it's not going to be the last thing you do in this regard. But I think you made a great first step.
Thank you. That was very kind. And it cannot be understated how amazing the project you've created here and how much opportunity you've given so many people. So, of course, thank you.
Likewise, I'm pretty honored to have been involved in one of the first endeavors of this co-production synergy, which I hope will continue long after this project and with many other things. I know we can make some amazing stuff. So this is just the beginning, as they say.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for tuning in for this. Hopefully you've gotten something out of it, and hopefully you all enjoyed All in Good Time. Obviously there's a lot more to come on this Kickstarter campaign. We have got 2 more short films on the way. Very excited to share Trial by Fire with you guys. Having been part of that, Travis and I are going to organize a stream in the next week or 2 where we're going to talk about our experiences on that, and then we can start giving you more details about it. So looking forward to that too. But right now we'll finish it up there, and I'm not going to do my customary sign off because this is offline stuff. You guys are special, so I'm not going to tell you to go away. I'll just say thank you, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.